Hi everybody, Thatcher came in from Taste Media Group coming to you live today with Miguel Chacon, a commercial real estate broker with Compass. Miguel, thanks a lot for your time here.
Thank you for having me, Thatcher.
For sure. So just kind of getting into it, Miguel, you're involved in real estate all across the board, from obviously selling it to developing it. You're a landlord. How are you kind of perceiving this moment, and what perspective do you have on all that's going on?
Yeah, well, it's definitely an interesting time. I think that one of the biggest issues that we have right now is kind of the unknown. We don't know where things are going to go and how things are going to shake out and how long we're going to be working from home or just staying at home in general. On the commercial real estate side, there's a lot of adjustments. I think that a lot of the ownership that I'm speaking to, a lot of owners that own either apartment buildings or retail, they're pretty much assuming that this year is going to be, it's going to be kind of a lost year in many ways. If you're an apartment building owner, for example, you're dealing with a lot of tenants reaching out to the ownership and saying, I'm not going to be paying my rent for this next month. And I'm encouraging all owners and everybody to really work with the tenants, because the last thing we want is for everybody to obviously to be out on the street. At the same time, it's not like the banks are necessarily coming to the rescue of any of the small independent landlords. So we're kind of seeing a lot of uncertainty. I'm really anticipating that we're going to be through this through, not just April, but really May. And then there's going to be, assuming, and we're obviously very optimistic that we're going to get ahead of this. But we are seeing another 60 days of really kind of shelter in place and don't go outside. Makes it very difficult to show, apartments or retail spaces or just do anything when you can't really go out on the street as much. So it's really, we're going to see another 2 months, in my opinion, of the market really kind of trying to figure out where it is that we're going. The uncertainty in any business is bad, but the entire economy is entirely uncertain at this point. So people are just trying to make those adjustments now, and I encourage everybody to do so.
Yeah, you bring up obviously rent payments that are going to be due here as we approach the first of the month. So definitely going to be top of mind for a lot of people out there. And you talked about just consumers in general and consumer confidence. How much does that correlate to the strength of the real estate market, and how do you see those working together moving forward?
Yeah, consumer confidence is really everything. It's what encourages people to go out and buy a new car or buy a used car or keep repairing their car. It's the same thing with their homes. There's going to be a big segment of the economy that is not going to be as affected by this. But who is really going to be affected is going to be the people that don't have the savings, that their jobs are not as stable. And if they don't feel confident as to where the economy is going, not just next week, next month, they haven't even gotten that far in some cases. So those are the issues, or those are the people that are going to be affected by the economy the most. What the federal government is trying to do and trying to give $1,200 checks to people, they're going to need to be doing more than that. And I think that a lot of people are really going to be afraid to spend money if they don't have to. And that is really what, to me, affects the economy more than anything else. When the consumers aren't confident about their ability to have a job next month, they're not going to be as willing to spend. And that takes, a while for it to come back. Not just a few months. It could be, a year for people to really feel confident about things coming back. The one thing about the economy is that it's been very strong. Coming after the 2008, recession that we went through, we had 10 years of the economy kind of slowly kind of coming back. People call it a recession, but it was really a depression. Last time that an expansion recovery took so long was really the Great Depression of 1929. And the only reason we came back from that was really because of the war. And we've had 10 years well, more like 12, of a recovery. And so now, unemployment was very low. Consumer confidence was very high. Everything that you looked at the economy, it was doing really, really well. But this just shook up everybody, regardless of your income, regardless of where you are, everybody's ability to work, everybody's ability to, if you have money and you want to spend it, is limited. So, that is really the biggest issue right now is, are we going to have consumer confidence come back? And it's not going to come back as quickly as we'd like, but nonetheless, it will be there. It's just going to take some time to get there. And as far as affecting it, our real estate, I did sign a contract right the week of that the coronavirus really started, and we're seeing the shelter in place. Those are the things that people, my clients, like, I still need to move. I still need to, go live somewhere, and my lease is up, and, I got to live somewhere. So those people are still going to be, real estate is still going to move. People are going to need to live somewhere no matter what. And, shopping and office, we're going to see some adjustments overall, but it will come back. I think that, this summer is really going to be an indicator of where the economy will be for the next 18 to 24 months.
For sure, Miguel. And do you see the risk appetite being there moving forward for those in real estate? Someone like yourself who has gone into areas that are kind of up and coming, aren't quite as established, and made investments. Do you still see this risk appetite being there moving forward? Or as you speak to confidence, will the real estate investment community itself maybe be a little shook?
I think that investors are always looking for the rate of return and their tolerance for risk. And so, when you look at some other areas that are really growing, and we can talk about Logan Square, for example, and Pilsen, where I'm at, for example, you have a lot of development that's been happening. And so the numbers are still going to be there. Even if we see a drop in rent, I don't think that this year is going to indicate your long-term forecast for a building. When you buy real estate, you're not buying it just for next year. You're really looking at the next few years of where you think it's going. Development is going to continue to happen. When you look at the demographics in the city, everybody, of course, there's a lot of activity in the West Loop. And so if you can't be in the West Loop, you're going to be in the next neighborhood over. That's going to continue to happen across the board. It's going to happen with retail, office, and obviously apartments. So yes, you might see some kind of hold back and say, well, let me just invest in neighborhoods that are already more established. If the rents and if the rate of return that the investor is seeking is not really attainable in those areas, then they're going to continue to look just outside to wherever it is that they can get the minimum hurdle or the minimum rate of return that they're looking for their investments.
That's great advice and great perspective. And then just in terms of, you mentioned yourself being a landlord, how are you kind of handling the conversations you're having with the people that rent from your units, and how much empathy do you have to deploy in this type of moment?
Well, I think we should always have empathy for anybody in this situation. I think that a lot of times tenants, say, well, just don't pay the landlord and he'll deal with it. Well, obviously we still have loans. I personally do. And so we still have those obligations. I have a lot of empathy toward tenants. I've had a call earlier with the tenant who I've had for 3 years. She's been wonderful. She works in the restaurant business. She called me and said, Miguel, I'm not going to be able to pay the full month's rent. And I totally understand that. And so I said, you know what, go ahead and pay half the month's rent for the month of April, and let's see what we can do moving forward for May. I also gave her some resources of some programs that she could apply for through the city and see if she's able to kind of have, if they're able to pay, if she gets the grant from the city, then she could pay that toward her rent. If not, I'm essentially going to eat that cost because we have no choice. I'm not going to start evicting people in a situation like this. That's not what we want. And so, there's got to be empathy on both the landlord side to the tenant and the tenants of the landlord to understand that we just don't have a big pot of money to sit on and cover mortgages for these properties, for an extended period of time. So there's going to be empathy to make sure that everybody can stay in place. Now I have other tenants, for example, that are teachers, and luckily their salaries are guaranteed. I'm not going to tell them to not pay their rent simply because of what's going on with coronavirus, because obviously they're still getting paid and the rent is still due and my mortgage is still due on the properties. So it's about balancing that out and seeing what can we do to make sure that we help everybody and not just saying, for the tenants. And that can be true on the commercial side as well. I'm seeing some things of commercial tenants saying, well, we're not going to pay the rent this month. We just don't have the money. Landlords are going to have to try to work with the tenants. On the commercial side, they'll say, well, let's add that onto the end of the lease, or let's not charge you rent for 3 months and then increase the rent by $1 a square foot for the next 3 months after that, or at the end of the lease. So real estate investors, landlords, brokers, we all need to get creative, because what we don't want is for the economy to collapse for everybody. And it can be a real domino effect if everybody starts saying, well, we're not going to pay rent and we're not going to pay our mortgage. The economy will fail entirely at that point. And that's not good for anybody. That's not what we're looking for.
And moving forward, Miguel, how do you see this affecting commercial real estate?
Yeah, I think that this working from home initiative that really we've been preparing and it's what we've wanted. I think a lot of people said, oh, let's work from home, it's going to be great. As a father of three, I could tell you there's nothing I look forward to more than going to work in an office right now. And I think a lot of parents are like that. And I think a lot of people in general, we love the idea of working from home, but you still want to be able to connect with your coworkers, with your clients. And so working from home is this coronavirus in 2020 will completely change the way that we work. But at the end of the day, we still need those human interactions. And so, we might adjust the footprint of the amount of square footage that you're taking, at a big office tower, because people are going to be working from home, maybe a little bit more. Now, more people are comfortable with it. Everyone has learned how to use video conferencing. And so I think that those things can really change. But at the end of the day, people are still going to want to go into the office. There still needs to be a central place for employees to gather and meet and discuss and see what it is that they need to do. And the technology, while it's come a long way, sometimes just getting, your microphone to work on your computer for some people is just too much. So it will adjust how it is that we spend our time in an office, but nonetheless, we're still going to need office space. Retail is going to be the same. We still need somewhere to showroom the product and convince someone to buy it. But there's going to be a lot more comfort in terms of getting our groceries delivered, getting everything else that we weren't getting already from Amazon. You're going to see a lot more comfort with that, and that will affect the square footage of to see a bit of a shrinkage, I think, in terms of retail. But we've been on that track already for at least 10 years now.
Thank you so much, Miguel. Any other advice as we wrap up this interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell everyone, the world is not ending. And we will get past this, and we will get back to a point of some sense of normalcy. People will still need to live. We'll still need to shop somewhere and go to work somewhere. We might make adjustments, in the next a year or two. But at the end of the day, everything that is going up will come back down. Markets will adjust. People will adjust, and we'll get out of this. The best thing to do right now is to stay home, be healthy, and make sure that we, don't have as many casualties. That is what matters more than anything else. Everything else will adjust, but staying safe and making sure that more people are not infected by this, it should be the #1 priority.
That's great, Miguel. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and best of luck moving forward.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one, Thatcher.